Joining us today. My name is Lila Newton, as you can see the fancy props. I am serving at YCD as their interim chief advancement and partnerships officer. This is a very new title. Prior to that, I served as business development director at the organization. It is my pleasure to be with you today. I believe all three of you, as I could see, reached out in some capacity and wanted to connect or did connect with me. So I appreciate your desire to learn a little bit more about fundraising, also, participation in the Level Up program, your commitment to community, and as well as just showing up for yourselves and your professional development. So I'm excited to make this a journey that both of us, all of us, can guide together. This really is your time, and I am a resource to you, and happy to connect the dots when it comes to fundraising and building out partnerships for you and your organization to support your future growth. I put some questions in the prompt, and so I'd love for us to turn on our speakers. And of course, I'd like to invite you. I love community. I love to see beautiful faces. And if you at any point feel comfortable just showing yourselves, please do. I know that during our one-on-ones, I didn't, but I promised you that you would see me today. So I just encourage you if you feel comfortable. So I'll go ahead and start. I know I asked some questions, so I'll go ahead and start. My having some technical issues. Thank you. I am sitting here with Naya Eddington, and she is amazing at easing me into what Jermaine has been doing and bringing me up to speed. I have been working at YCD for 4 years now. I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary. I believe it is in a few days. So, to all you Leos out there, and I know there's a couple, I'm not going to name any names unless you want to put it in the chat. Um, so, what else did I ask? I asked what do you want to get out of this module today? Obviously, YCD is a 501c3. We're 50 years old. My role is really advancing the visibility of the organization. You're going to see a video about my approach to fundraising at YCD. Hopefully, that'll give you more of an idea of the role. And I say this not wanting to overwhelm you. It is an expansive role, but with the right strategy, you really can make a lot of impact with little effort. I know you might not believe me, but we'll talk about the barriers. We'll talk about the barriers that face leaders of color and some of the challenges and how we can get out of our own way. Sometimes there's a lot that goes on internally that prevents us from getting out there, and there's also real barriers externally. So how do we overcome them? And then my goal today is to just be your partner in this work, to get to know you better, to be able to speak about the work that you do, the desires that you have, and maybe connect you with opportunities to speak to potential funders in the future. So I am here today, I'm here tomorrow. It's an honor to serve YCD in the community. And I think that community is getting larger and larger, and very happy that we have a program like Level Up and individuals like Jermaine and Naya that have a heart to share information. So looking forward to being a resource. So who would like to go first? Oh, I see that Candace is online, and I appreciate you. Is this a good time for you to jump in, Candace?
Yeah.
Great.
You want me to answer the questions in the
I
chat?
would love for you to answer the questions. I know I didn't do it in order, but I think that you can do whatever feels good to you. Yeah, just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Candace Brenner. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I know one of the questions asked, do I have a registered 501c3? I don't have a registered one, but I do have a lot of uh, work and thought that has gone into it. And so hopefully soon I'll um, gang up enough courage to go ahead and register it. Um, and then I think it asks, what is the mission? The mission is just to serve people and families that experience disabilities and impacted by structural and intersectional oppression. I know accessibility is extremely difficult and challenging, especially in a big city, and navigating those processes. So, my hopes is to help families of color, um, e- especially African Americans, navigate those systems of oppression. And then let me see, did I leave anything else out? I can't see the chat, but that's all I can think of right now.
Oh, what would you like? What would you like to learn today? What would you like to experience today? I guess my question is ultimately, how would you define a successful experience for you, this fundraising module?
Oh, from this fundraising module, just learning the ins and out about it right now. I'm like a blank board. I don't know too much about it. I kind of like steer away from that part because I figured, oh, I'll hire somebody to deal with that. But now that I have the opportunity to learn, I'm open to learning as much as possible, so that if I don't have that budget, I'll be able to jump in and kind of see what I can do myself first.
Great. Thank you, Candace. I really appreciate you sharing today. And I look forward to us diving deeper. Um, I just want to, before we hear from the next, our next leader, I just like to say that this is very collaborative time. I know that I'm not a big fan of talking one way. I am motivated and ignited by conversation and it to be challenging. I mean, I'm a very positive individual, but I'm also very realistic about what we face as fundraisers. So let's go on to the next. Who else would like to? Who else is willing to share this morning? Miss Porter. I know Miss Porter was having some technical difficulties today, and I understand, as I was having some earlier today and yesterday as well. May I invite Dana to speak? And I'm just saying that I would appreciate just any insight because it helps me. It helps me. Oh, wonderful. Hello, Dana. I see you online, and also see that Miss Porter has signed in again using another device. Good morning. Lovely to see you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Blessed and highly favored.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
So your question is, could you ask it? Could you
Oh,
repeat?
absolutely. It was in the prompt. I'm learning this live stream
I
right
don't
along
see
with
the
you.
prompt.
You're
Yeah, I don't see it. I see the
not at
chat.
all. Not at all. I'm happy to reiterate your name, the name of your organization, your pronouns, what you prefer to be called, and what you'd like to know about fundraising. So that, in essence, it's a
So my
lot
name
of
is.
questions that I put
That's
out
okay.
there, but
That's okay.
but
I can keep
we
up.
can, we can chat through it. Don't worry, I'll
My name
prompt you.
is Dana Cheatham. I'm the founder and executive director of Total Woman Empowerment. My pronouns are she and her. Um, As mentioned, the name of the organization is Total Woman Empowerment. However, we have a few other programs up under Total Woman Empowerment. One of them is Destined for Greatness, which is a program that's geared towards transitional age youth, 16 to 24 years old. And then we have the Queens Weekend Retreat. We do that on an annual basis, Calling All Queens. And that is for the purpose of Black women in leadership to intentionally take time to create a space or take advantage of the space to decompress, to reset, refocus, and really simply be. And recalibrate, if you will. Yes. And then as far as my goals or my hopes for being in the this segment is to really learn how to fundraise effectively, learn some tools that I can apply and can see some results from. Fundraising, asking for money is kind of challenging for me. So you talked about earlier internal and external. So probably my greatest barrier is my internal. So.
Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate you sharing. I love the titles of your organization, and it just, for me, it speaks to what you do. And I love that you introduce the restoration piece with the Queen's Retreat. Really leaning in. There are a lot of queens that I would like to participate in that. But thank you for providing that and creating that service and blessing people, because how can you be queens if you don't take care of yourselves?
That's one of the barriers. I think that we as service providers, we are masters at supporting others, but we don't always take the time to give ourselves what we need. And so actually we have a retreat coming up this weekend. I'll drop the flyer in the chat. Not this weekend, I'm sorry. September 8th through the 10th.
Okay.
I'll drop the flyer in the chat. And as mentioned, Calling All Queens, Black women in leadership.
Wonderful. I have some great partners in this work that I would love to share that with. So thank you, Dana. And it's something that's always on the top of my mind, because we feel empowered to ask on behalf of our community, on behalf of others. Sometimes it is challenging, like you said, and we'll talk about terminology and standing in authority. But we have to learn how to ask for ourselves and take care of ourselves. Yeah. I know it takes trust. It takes time and it takes trust. And you're creating a community where women can lean on each other. So I just thank you. I have goosies. I have goosebumps. And I appreciate that. I like early morning, pre-noon goosies. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Miss Porter, are you able to join us? Are you able to hear us?
I go turn my camera on. How you guys
doing? I love seeing your face.
First off, I'm gonna say sorry. I'm out right now. We on our way to Great America with a group of kids in our Alice Griffin community. So it's pretty noisy on the bus, and maybe that's why my internet was pretty blotchy, because we were taking off. But yes. So my name is Keisha Porter. I go by Miss Porter. I like to be called Miss Porter. Everybody calls me Miss Porter. I am officially have my 501c3, so I'm in the door with that. My organization is called K-Walk. It's short for Walk of Life, and but what my ultimate goal was to bring diabetes awareness into the communities, into our African American communities, and Black and Brown communities, along with activities. So activities to soothe those areas. Far as I do eating classes, I do painting with kids and adults, and I do a workshop around healthy eating, so they can know how to manage their diabetes, know how to still have fun and eat what you want, kind of. But I'm still learning. I'm still growing. Um, um, my ultimate goal is to bring togetherness and love and back into the community by going on these field trips, by bringing our residents out of the comfort zone again. Um, I just want to bring back that love, that feeling we used to have, or how I used to have when I was growing up. Um, and what I want to get out of this streaming today, the funding. Um, I want to learn how to ask for funds. I want to learn how to manage my funds. I have this project that I want to do, and I'm calling it the Beautification Project, where I want to pick selective young adults, not even just youth, but just anybody in the community, give them the credentials to work, so they'll be able to clean up their own community, be able to have all that the credentials to take the janitorial basically experience that they have within the community and take it elsewhere, and also do it'll be like little cohorts, like internships for them to be more successful, to be willing to leave their community and go work somewhere else. So it's a couple different projects that I have in mind, but um, that I'm trying to do. I don't just have in mind that I'm going to do it. Um, but right now, I've just been doing little activities with the communities, and just bringing back that love, getting that trust again. Um, for them to come out their homes and come into the community room, come take a walk with me, come talk with me, and then talk amongst each other. So, um, yeah, I think that was all the questions, right?
You covered them all, Miss Porter.
Okay.
It's so funny. I wouldn't call you anything else. It's just, it rolls off the tongue. Maybe it's because I went to the Janet Jackson concert with my sister. Recently, it was a late birthday gift, but it is a blessing to know the work of Miss Porter, as we've both served at YCD, and I've seen her evolution, and so excited that you are a part of this cohort and constantly learning and growing and serving. Literally on the front lines in community, no separation between yourself and the people that you work alongside with. And when I say that, it is, the youth, that is the individuals that come through and do, temporary employment services. So I love the fact that you are combining aspects of what you've done with the janitorial training, with the environment, with temporary, as well as potentially, I'm hearing maybe a social enterprise somewhere in there, and as well as the health aspect of it with diabetes, and the fun. I mean, I think sometimes we forget about the fun. And I'm hearing that, that's a part of each of your plans, uplifting and also reminding folks that at the end of the day, we should embrace our childlike, our wondrous, incredible essence as human beings on this earth. So I thank you. I thank you for sharing. That helps me and encourages me that I might have something to share. And again, um, pipe in, jump in, ask questions, if it's going in a direction that's not useful for you, because there's a lot of information. Let's we have the benefit of having a smaller group today, so let's make it intimate, let's make it good. I am foreseeing that we're going to run until about 11:45. I do have a couple of meetings today, but I am a resource to you. You have my contact information, so I am going to ask that we queue up a video that just encapsulates what I do at YCD, at least in the role of business development. So that is fundraising and again, partnerships. And yeah, why I love to do what I do. As it is specific to YCD, however, it is translatable. So it's, I think, sometimes hard to describe in words. I like visuals myself, so I hope that you enjoy this short video and we'll connect afterwards with any questions, any thoughts, any reactions. So I guess let's hit it.
Today we are discussing business development at YCD. Hi, my name is Lila Newton, Business Development Director for YCD. I am committed to sustaining the growth of our organization. During today's presentation, we will define business development, distinguish fundraising from philanthropy, define success, describe the donor engagement process, and share goals for the next fiscal year. Business development is value creation in the form of partnerships and resources, and also lots and lots of funding sources for YCD. Business development supports the critical functions across the organization and supports the continued operation of essential programs and services. I am often asked, so are you a fundraiser? Upon comparison, fundraising versus philanthropy present distinctive meanings, goals, and outcomes. For example, fundraising means raising funds versus philanthropy, which is the love of humankind. Fundraising supports a non-profit's mission, whereas philanthropy seeks to solve systemic social problems. At YCD, we combine the best of both definitions. Philanthropic fundraisers take a partnership approach to engagement that goes beyond funding support. Business developers possess core skills that help advance the goals and objectives of the organization they serve. Successful philanthropic fundraising involves 4 critical steps, including identifying needs, setting goals, securing support, and measuring success. Our primary need is to sustainably grow in order to continue to support the communities we serve. In order to meet this need, our goal is to engage a diverse donor base, which includes individual donors, foundations, and corporations. YCD's ultimate vision is to uplift the stories of positive impact to inspire philanthropy at a national level. In order to facilitate engagement, business development actively identifies, researches, cultivates, solicits, and stewards partnerships. Finally, we measure the success of our business development efforts, constantly adapting to improve our strategic approach. A large part of business development is donor engagement. Identifying and meeting individuals, as well as public and private organizations who align with our goals at YCD. We first identify and connect with prospective partners, using multiple approaches. Introductory emails, messages through LinkedIn, and referrals from current donors are a few of our outreach methods. Prior to meeting with a prospect, we research the donor to understand their preferred form of donation. Our approach at YCD is to build a long-lasting partnership that is mutually beneficial. Once we secure a meeting, we prepare a presentation outlining the focus areas of our organization and the many ways we serve our community. These meetings give us the opportunity to learn more about the donor firsthand, including their interests and priorities. An elevator pitch is an introduction to your organization. An example pitch may sound like this. Nice to meet you. You can call me Lila. I'm the Director of Development at YCD. For the past 50 years, we have been committed to breaking generational cycles of poverty within San Francisco. We empower communities of color with education, workforce development training, and housing resources that promote sustainable economic mobility. YCD seeks philanthropic partnerships that will advance the well-being of our community. We are explicit about advancing equity for marginalized communities through our programs and services. We are committed to eliminate suffering through compassion. The business development team works closely with key areas within the organization. This collaborative approach helps to inform and support our philanthropic fundraising objectives. As we are about to enter our 50th year of service, YCD looks forward to achieving auspicious goals that will drive flexible funding at record-setting levels. Business development is inspired by each member of the YCD team. Your work empowers individuals to create a brighter future for themselves and their families. Thank you for all you do.
So, ladies, that was 5.5 minutes of me sharing what I do at YCD, what I love to do at YCD, what I endeavor to do. And I hope you have some questions or reactions. I just want to make this as engaging as possible. Any thoughts, any reactions, any questions? I want to give us a couple minutes to discuss. And just to give you a little bit of background as you unmute, just wanted to give you context. I often get asked, I think I said that before, what do you do? What is business development? So I created this for my colleagues at YCD. We had a town hall last year, and we all gathered at our 1420 Yosemite Avenue warehouse. And we just spoke about the work that we all do in our focus areas, in our service areas, as well as, the administrative back of the house. And I feel my work is back of the house and front of the house. So I hope that was a little illuminating about why I have the honor of speaking with you today. So opening it up to reactions.
It's kind of a lot to unpack, yeah.
It is. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I was hoping you could elaborate on each section and have it just, kind of talk about it from there.
Absolutely. I'm not surprised that it is a little overwhelming, but I also have the benefit of working alongside an executive director that has been involved with the organization for now 15 years, as a service provider, as a deputy director, and as an executive director for the past 5 years. So as I do this work, I don't do it alone. So what the video presented was my approach. I approach opportunities at YCD as investment opportunities for private sector donors. So we have many grants through the city and county of San Francisco, as well as some federal grants. And I was brought on with the intent to diversify our funding portfolio, to really expand awareness of what YCD is and educate individuals and foundations, family foundations, high net worth individuals about an opportunity to partner in ways that address their desire to partner and with community and solve big issues, as well as kind of promote their philanthropic legacy. So I am working in a very specific niche, although I do value what the city of San Francisco has done for YCD. We really, as we know, what the landscape looks like, and we are in, a bit of a um, financial depression where we have received reduced funding, or at least reduced funding is going out from the city. And we need to be prepared for that. So I'm hoping that that gives a little bit of what I do and the pieces of what I do in terms of, types of engagement, the cycle of engagement. Those are things that are going to come through what is the grants process. There's always lead time in building partnership and building trust with individuals and organizations that want to contribute to your organization. The getting to know you, almost dating period, where they want to see who you are as a leader. I like to say that 9 out of 10 times, yes, the cause is a driver, but really the investment is in you and your ability to execute on your goals and your visions. So I know this is a lot, and I appreciate that reaction. I don't want to scare you. You can do fundraising in many ways. This is just the whole entirety of what business development is. So again, it's the fundraising and the partnership piece. I hope that that was a
So
little bit
I
more.
have a question.
Yeah.
How do you go about targeting, like, where do you go? How do you go about targeting? Like, for me, I need I need to fundraise in different areas, like in healthcare perspective, the community area. Like, how do you go about, or who do you contact to do fundraisers, to ask for funds? Like, for somebody that's up and coming like myself, like, how do I go about even asking? What's the first steps of
Mhm.
asking? Like, this is what I'm providing, this is what I'm trying to do, are you able to help me? Like, how do you, and who do you supposed to like target in different areas? Like, 'cause I know eventually I want to help families, support them with paying for some type of diabetes medicine, because it's high, and I know not everybody can afford it. But like, how
Yes.
do you go about that? Like, how do you request that? Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? I may not
Yeah.
saying it right, but yeah.
No, you're saying absolutely right. I think it takes time. Research. Number one, you want to find funders that are in alignment with the work that you do. You need to ask people like me, who do you know? Who can you make introductions to? Building your community, your network, right, of peers, like myself, like Mr. Brookter, like other individuals that have relationships with, private sector. I know about 3 individuals that you should be speaking to. Um, Getting out of your comfort zone and connecting with development directors, since you all are development directors as well as executive directors. And we'll talk about what it is to, create a community of I want to say ambassadors, but I really mean soldiers when I say that. Individuals that can speak to your work and that have access to the world beyond in which you serve. And that means people that don't necessarily look like us, come from the same backgrounds as us, and have access to a network of potential investors. So for me, it's about relationships. Um, I'm always throwing myself in situations where um, I might not know anybody, but I'll come out knowing at least 5 individuals that can make connections and introductions for me. So it's in a way, it's a mix of grassroots. It's a mix of you knowing the right people and creating a community around you. When I say community, of those soldiers, and also doing your research. I think that when I was on the other side, and one of the roles that I've been in is, being pitched to for investment opportunities, and I think this is very much the same. I was really flattered by individuals that understood the focus of our investments and what we were looking for in terms of impact, and how you defined impact, and how you, or one would say, listen, this is a great investment because this is addressing XYZ, and these are going to be the outcomes. And even if you're new, that does not mean that you're not the expert in this work. You have some sort of idea that your approach is going to work, be it, on an individual level, or studies, things of that sort. So um, we don't have enough time to put together a pitch, but I'm happy to extend that service. I hope, Ms. Porter, that helped you. It's a combination of things. It really is. There's not just one pathway. There's not one city grant. There's not one private grant. It's getting out there enough so people hear you and see you. It really is about exposure, and it's hard to do the work at the same time, as well as being the leader and being visible. So you have to strike a balance, as you start out, and it's not easy. That's why you need your soldiers. So I think something came up on the chat, and I apologize. I'm adjusting to a new prescription, so if I'm squinting, um, I'm interested in taking you on that. Absolutely. Dana, it would be a pleasure. Okay. And all right. So, any other thoughts? Any other comments? Do you want to dive in? Let's dive in. All right. So I had the pleasure of presenting to the cohort prior to this one, and I just have to say I was whispering to Naya here that I am so impressed. I'm not surprised, but I'm impressed by this cohort, and I really appreciate how you are addressing needs. I had spoken with Candace a couple days ago. It feels like a couple days ago, and you are the extension of social services where our countries, city, municipalities, state fail. Our citizens in our community, you are addressing essential gaps. So let us go to the second slide of our presentation. And I just wanted to give you an idea of the landscape. And this is data from 2002, but not much has happened. I think it's very important that people know how much money is in the giving universe, and how much of that is individual donors, and really about relationship making. Again, I understand your bandwidth, but as often as you can, as much as you can, to step out of the service delivery and into the conversations, going to meetups, posting your thoughts on LinkedIn, connecting with individuals at corporations that are in charge of social giving, community, outreach. Those are the kinds of names that you should be looking on, and just kind of diversifying your exposure. So here we have foundations, we have corporations, we have bequests, which is a part of legacy giving, and individuals make up the bulk. So there's a huge opportunity. I think our tendency is to go for, the government, but this data does not include government. We think, oh, San Francisco Foundation, and they're an amazing resource. And I say, by all means, if we want an introduction, talk to me. Let's get our information together so that we can present. Happy to do so. But here there is this very large bucket of individuals. So as you can see on the right-hand side, the contributions, and one of the things the video touched upon is that philanthropy and giving is about where your heart is and where your heart lands. So as you can see, that people give towards causes that reside closest to their heart, to um, their values. So it shouldn't be a surprise that religion comes first. A lot of people give towards that aspect of their interests, and education, as well as human services. And I see that everything that we're talking about today is, again, an extension of human services. So we're in good stead. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of organizations that want to give to organizations like yourself, nonprofits like yourself. They just need to know that you're there. And that honestly is what I'm doing for YCD. They just need to know that you're there. Yesterday, we had a conversation with a philanthropic advisory group. And what they do is they assist high net worth individuals, their families, and their private trusts and foundations on how to place money or how to place their investments with nonprofits. And so they're interested in doing something in the Bay Area. Mr. Brookter spoke on a panel, and I think it was about a year ago. In a couple of months, it'll be a year ago. And for us to get this email out of the blue, it bore fruit. It was the first time he was on a panel of that type, but he's been doing public speaking for a while. So it might not be, the first thing you think of when you think of, your talents, but I encourage you to really step into authority, to be able to be the thought partner that people desire and need to address, the education and human services issues that really are prevalent. We have another addition to our group, and I had anticipated hearing a little bit from Maria today, but we're very, very happy that you joined us. You were able to join us. And hi there. I would like to take a moment, Maria. I'd like to ask you a few questions, and we had some things in the prompt, so I hope we don't mind doing a little bit of sway. My name is Lila Newton. I am the interim Chief of Advancements and Partnerships Officer at YCD. And prior to that, last week, I was in the role of Business Development Director at YCD, and I'm happy that you've been able to join us. We're talking about a pretty big subject, fundraising. And it is an unruly one, and it is an exciting one. And there's no direct, answer about how to get funding, but using different modalities is what I suggest, and really leveraging, people in your world that know what you're doing and what you're endeavoring to achieve through your nonprofit. So that's a little summary about where we are right now, and what you see in front of you is how giving is divided. But I wanted you to introduce yourself, the name of your organization, your preferred pronouns, and what you would like to hear today, and what you would like to learn regarding fundraising. That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm like, so my name is Maria Judice. My organization, I'm kind of with two organizations for this nonprofit leadership course. I'm with Code Tenderloin, where I am the development director. And so I probably think at least 8 hours of every day about fundraising and donations and grants and giving and partnerships and all that kind of stuff. Where in the Tenderloin, we focus on homelessness and economic well-being. So we teach skill classes that skill you up in the technology sector, everything from coding to data analytics to basic just computer literacy. And we employ people and help them kind of move from being unhoused to having some kind of job that gets them, their first housing to eventually a career and hopefully a six-figure income, which is what it takes for you to live within San Francisco. And the other one is I'm a filmmaker also. And so, excuse me for being late today. I had a last minute interview. My film is screening in DC next week. And of course, they're on East Coast time. So it was a shuffle. And then it ended up like hitting right at the time. I actually had 3 meetings kind of that I had to push back. So I'm a filmmaker, and I wanted to, for a very long time, start basically a micro cinema with all the films that I'm connected to. And I don't really have, like I have a couple names, but I don't really have a name for it. But basically it would be a micro cinema and cinema that would also focus on like education. So right now I teach screenwriting in universities in various places. I teach, basic like film 101. I also teach, at Code Tenderloin, I teach people who, have every kind of thing going on in their lives, like how to take apart a camera, how to put it back together, and how to watch movies with a certain eye, how to storytell and articulate and express your story in a way that helps you get what you want out of life, right? Because people have to articulate, life transitions. Like, why do you have a gap on your resume? And you could say because X, Y, and Z happened and yada, yada, yada. Or you could, actually say in a way that's confident and tells the story that you want to tell, and don't let people, take your experience from you. And I find those classes really help people to kind of like navigate and get what they want out of life. And so that's what I want to do with the micro cinema. And I want to bring like indie filmmakers, especially marginalized and people of color, to really fill this gap that we really don't have in San Francisco right now, which is a gap of, avant-garde films that really focus on, diverse cultures that, really make up San Francisco. We really have a certain segment of movies. Many of them are commercial movies, and we don't have the movie that really speaks to the community or the issues that really, affect our communities. So that's what I'm here for. I'm sorry. I've been talking for like an hour, so I'm like, oh girl, you need to shut up. You just talking. I hope that answered. Oh, and fundraising, I think the thing about fundraising that I have learned is that you can never learn enough about fundraising. And so like I'm open to anything. I completely agree with you. When I started at Code Tenderloin, we only probably had about $200,000 as our budget, and now we're about 3 million. And I first worked in the same way that I would work to fundraise for a film, which is like really just start working at our core group, like who are we connected to, how big is our audience, how can we, just start setting up individual funds so people don't have to dig to figure out where to give us money. I just made it really easy and put it everywhere. Like, here's a very easy way to give us money. And then after I start getting that, I start to focus on grants. And I think the grant world constantly changes. The environment changes. The way we were getting money before the pandemic to after the pandemic has really changed. And you just kind of have to always be on your toes and like always just like talking to your partners and your peers and figuring out where they're getting money from. I hope that's helpful in any way.
I think that's very helpful, Maria, and thank you. I appreciate you speaking, even though your vocal cords are probably getting raw by now. Thank you. It is a pleasure. I am a fan of Code Tenderloin, and I know some of your partners in that area, at least with addressing the homelessness gap. So thank you for the training that you do. Thank you for the role that you fill at Code Tenderloin. Myself, I probably alongside with you, you're the first Business Development Director at Tenderloin, is my assumption. Yes, yeah. I'm the first as well at YCD. And it's interesting stepping into, an opportunity to diversify and expand the funding and do it at a grassroots level, but then also adopting and incorporating much more sophisticated types of, techniques and methods, the grant writing process, but really mining who do you know in your community is a great way to start, and something that I do suggest all organizations to do no matter what, and then be able to kind of break that down into, okay, where can they refer us to? How can they be, a soldier for us or ambassador for us? So thank you. I appreciate it. And oh my gosh, I mean, all of you, I have like all of these connections that I would like to make, just on us taking an aside. There are a lot of organizations that you might know that are already doing this work, or individuals that are interested in giving, to these types of projects. So looking forward to having kind of a post conversation after this. So I think that this slide here tells us a lot. There's opportunities to really connect with individuals, and that's where that LinkedIn comes in. That's where going to social engagements, meetups, it might not necessarily align with your specific, but it's in the places and spaces that you want to be in. And we can talk about that a little bit later. Like, how do you search for those types of opportunities? And I will tell you the kinds of events that I go to. So let's change the slide. Any questions about, is this surprising to anyone? This kind of breakdown of, and this is not government, non-government funding. Do we see opportunities here? I see a huge bucket of individuals that I need to make connections with, personally.
I was surprised that like how the breakdown is. I would have thought like majority of the money comes from like state and city. Um, and then another thing I was surprised about is when I looked at like the sectors.
Yeah.
My brain started kind of working like, oh, I could probably pull from each one of those sectors.
Yeah.
When it comes to disability. So that was another thing I saw.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's encouraging because, making those one-on-one impressions, like how are we going to divide our time? And you may leverage a grant that you receive from the city, or you receive from a private donor, a foundation, and then use that to attract other funding. So let's move to the next slide. All right. This is an awful, but reality of being a leader of color, and there is bias. There are challenges. Some of them we create within ourselves, because there's a lot of unknowns in the fundraising playing field. But let's just quickly go through this. So getting connected, there's a funnel that happens here. And I think that this is a very interesting kind of fact of fundraising. California leads in attracting funding from various sources when it comes to leaders of color. About 25% of those nonprofits get funding to a sustainable level, meaning that they're able to completely rely on funding sources. They don't have to diversify their funding portfolio to get to do social enterprise or reinvest those funds in order to gain a return, but they're supported. versus the rest of the country, where it's more along the lines of anywhere from 17 to 20%, which is abysmal, both in California and across the country. But that is something that we in reality have to consider as being new nonprofits, about getting into what is this, selective biosphere, and how do we do so? And there's a lot of ways to do so: by partnering with larger organizations, by submitting proposals that show that you are not the one and only organization doing the work, but you've tied yourself to an organization that is a little bit more tenured, and you can leverage their administrative and some of their infrastructure, so that it makes you a much more appealing investment. And again, when people look at investments, and when I was looking at private equity investments, I looked at how long has the organization been there, but even more so, who's the leader? Who's speaking to me? What are they bringing to the table? What is their experience in providing services or in other fields that are translatable? So again, we want to force philanthropy to look at us as individuals of skill, of authority, and empowered. So getting connected is really the first stage. And so that's why I always say, my biggest thrill in the work that I do is just connecting the dots and saying, oh, you need to speak to this person, you need to speak to this person, and making those introductions, and you taking it from there. And what events are you going to, what conferences are you going to? Again, I'm talking about work that does take you away from the day to day. So as you look at the way you split your time, looking for ways to add this. And it might be daunting, but if you make it a part of your day to day, I'm spending the first half hour, on Monday, the first 2 hours on Tuesday, again, being very intentional in making those, connections. As we do, I hate to use the analogy, but as we do in dating, getting to know each other, making new friends, you spend time and you invest and you build a rapport. And again, positioning yourself as the authority. Miss Porter, she knows about diabetes. These are the facts. This is the impact. This is why it needs to be addressed, and how these health metrics, these health markers, really determine success when it comes to a thriving community. How does it impact us, and why is it compelling, right, to invest today? And then securing the support. Sometimes it's a little bit faster. Sometimes, if you're on the radar at the right time, there are opportunities for small investments, but securing the support, that between 2 and 3, I think is it might be the most challenging, but it's also the most, you really setting yourself up as that partner in the work. And then sustaining the relationship. Really, we do not want to keep seeking one-offs. We really want reoccurring giving. We want to create strategic plans of giving with our funders. And a lot of this terminology, is familiar to some of you, but in essence, it's, we really appreciate you getting us off the ground, but this is our outlook for the next year, 2 years, and these are the needs, and this is how we want to expand our service model. So really having an honest conversation. Once you find that friend, when I say that friend, that individual or those groups of individuals that give to the cause that you are addressing, really cultivating and spending time. And then working to get into the spaces and places and making introductions and leveraging individuals like myself and other business development leaders and I'm not offering you up, Maria, but there are, some places that we are able to be in that you should also be in as well. So, questions regarding bias in the field and this approach. Does it seem pretty straightforward to you? Am I saying anything with my data that is surprising? Is it confirmation at some of the barriers?
I'll just say, like, I think it's straight on point. I love just like breaking it down in these ways. And I will say, for a community organization like Code Tenderloin, who's very focused on working with people with lived experience, meaning like we pretty much hire most people that go through our programs. I'm probably one of the only people that hasn't gone through the Code Tenderloin program. For our relationships are like the people like we really like get down with, and and that makes our model of fundraising just a little different, because when we first came out, it was like, oh, you have to be like those guys. And when I came in, I was like, that doesn't make sense, because we're going to spend all day trying to be like those guys and not being like who we are. And we are literally a team of people who literally live in this neighborhood, who have gone through most of these experiences, and we need organizations that look really like ours. And that was our first like 4 year of building, was just securing these relationships and developing. And that could be just like us showing up to their events, that could be us doing an event together, and then we would share information. And now we've kind of grown up a little bit, and so our friend circle and our relationships have grown in this bigger circle, and we have some folks that are kind of a little over there, but the majority of folks are still like the homies that we grew up with, and are trying to increase and sustain their organizations. And especially within this I don't want to say new, but I want to say like our own way of navigating through this space that is not traditionally nonprofit, the ways nonprofits work, right? And because of that, we've grown at our own pace, and we haven't outgrown the work that we're doing. And those relationships, some of them have sustained us for the entirety of our life. And I always say, anytime in fundraising, it's relationships, relationships, relationships. Like, just start doing relationships. Like, figure out those relationships, figure out the ones that are that are easy, and figure out the ones that you really want. But just start doing relationships, even if that's just you going to walk and talk with people and just catch up on what your organizations are doing.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you just reinforcing the relationship aspect. It does take time to cultivate, but something that you touched on, and I feel very strongly about, is this alignment piece, the integrity. You may be tempted as you are stepping out early to receive or consider investment from organizations that not 100% aligned with you. I would caution you to really think about it, because sometimes it sets the tone and may shift your focus. And it's very important that you maintain your organization's integrity, and really fiercely actually protect it, because I'm sure that Maria knows there are a lot of individuals that like to come in and potentially give money, and it might be a corporation, it might be even a government contract, and that may change the direction of the work that you want to do. And then it becomes a reduction of individuals that you are serving, human beings, and they become numbers. And I think that that is when the work kind of loses its power. And so it's just a word of caution. I can elaborate on that later with you individually, but I think that Maria probably knows what that looks like. I think Ms. Porter knows what that looks like. And I would believe that Dana, you and Candace have also, been familiar with what certain funding and their influence. So I think we should change to the next slide. And how are we doing on time, folks? Oh, okay. Wow, we don't have much time together. See, I think all this good energy and talking. So, leveling the playing field. That's what we endeavor to do with our fundraising. We did talk about inner circle. I like what Maria said. Our friends, the people we get down with. That's our inner circle. Those are people that are on your team, and if you are running solo, it might be auntie, it might be your family members, it might be your best friends, it might be people that are doing work in this cohort, leveraging each other because you've been spending all this time really getting to know each other and then making those connections. Individuals that can speak about the work that you do and why it's important. And it's important to also equip them with information, with data, and with a flyer, with your contact information, so you make it easy for them, even to send them an email and say, hey, can you send this out on my behalf, because I really would like to get into your network. And the people that are close to you are going to be happy to do so, happy to help. I also have board advisor mentors. Sometimes it is difficult to create a board on the outset, and I don't necessarily recommend that, because you're already trying to navigate this place, and then having to answer to a board is just not going to be helpful. But mentors, individuals that can help guide you, and you can say, listen, I was thinking about going in this direction, I was thinking about doing this, what do you think? I have a presentation deck, can you take a look at it? Creating an advisory committee, creating one that has leaders that are doing what either you do, or they're a little bit more advanced in the work, or they have a skill set that you'd like to tap into. Invite them to be an advisory board member. It gives them a position that of honor while serving, and it may also inspire them to open up their network at a deeper level. So, and then stakeholders. The stakeholders are, and YCD is very similar to Code Tenderloin in bringing on individuals that have gone through your programs as members of your team. And I'm sure that some of you are in different stages of paying yourself. Usually that comes completely last, but really leveraging volunteership, people that can say, I went through Dana's program and I am completely blessed. This has just been a game changer for me. And then next year, you have like Dove sponsoring the Queen's Retreat, right? You just make the connections. I always think of big things. And, I think audacious dreaming is huge. Take a moment. We have a whole bunch of different handouts along with this module. Take time to put together a list of these individuals, and then brainstorm about who your target donor is. An individual that has a heart for the work that you do, an individual with XYZ money, an individual that, really think about who that person is, and then the ways that you can appeal to them. And I love this. And we might end up doing this as an activity in the future. But just really drilling down so that when you create messaging, you'll be able to attract those individuals. But again, really leverage your network and people you know. Don't be afraid to ask, hey, do you know anybody? Can you make introductions? And, there are foundations. I will have information on that. But really, it's identifying, doing your research, spending time building that relationship or cultivating it, and then asking them, hey, you've known what we've been doing. I've invited you to this open house XYZ, or I've met you over coffee. Again, you don't have to have an event to make a connection. Walking and talking like Maria does. I love walking and talking. You know, having them meet, you know, someone who's been impacted by your programs. Again, we really just want to educate people. And then the stewardship is really the investment in how impactful you as a leader are in the promise that you made, right? The promise that you made to them, to deliver change and improvement. And we'll talk about private corporate government as well. Let us go to the next slide. Any questions regarding leveling the playing field and growing your network? Are you starting to brainstorm about the individuals that you can call into this work with you? Any thoughts? Are we sharing what we're doing with our community, with our friends and family? Are we sharing that with our peers?
I would say for the micro cinema, I've been kind of like, even though I don't have all my ducks together, I've been really bringing in people within like the POC film community and talking about like A, what they think the space is like for something like this, B, if they have any examples of places like this exist. And so I've also been doing traveling to other micro cinemas that do exist in the country to kind of see what they are doing. But especially here in the Bay Area, the community is so small. So I've just really been like, hey guys, like, what does this sound like? What does this feel like? And you know, if I move forward, what would be the support, or what can you throw into this bucket, or what can we exchange, and you know, building something like this, because there's no way that I'm going to build this by myself. That's just not going to happen. Not within San Francisco renting prices. Not going to happen.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. And you know, speaking to peer organizations or people that are doing similar work is a great way to start. I would encourage Ms. Porter to speak with organizations that are doing interventions around health. It doesn't necessarily have to be diabetes. Those are translatable models, and then also the healing and the joy aspect. There's a lot of aspects to the work you're doing, but the holistic model and approach, you know, Dana, there are empowerment groups that do similar work. I know you probably know them. It sounds like you've been in this work for a while. But I believe that there is the Melanin Coalition. I might be saying it might not be a coalition, but they're a powerful group of women that are really endeavoring to break down walls when it comes to, you know, leadership and representation. And Candace, I know that you're very early on in the ideation for the work that you're doing, but there are so many resources, and the gap really exists for Black families and families of color when it comes to supporting individuals and their families that are affected, impacted by autism. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already reached out, identify them, introduce yourselves, and really ask them the questions about how are you addressing this need? I see this gap. What has been going on? You know, take some time and do that research, and you never know what you're going to get from it. You get a lot of resource introductions and invites to come join. And I do have to say, Maria, I'm excited about your screening, and that's next week, right, in DC?
Yeah, the screening is next week, and it's a part of like the African International Diaspora Film Festival. So they do one in DC, they do one in New York in December, and then they do one again in Paris and then Dakar. So it'll travel a little bit and have like, I'm not going to all of them. I'm definitely going to DC, but I'm not going to go to New York. Maybe not. Who knows? But I won't be in Dakar. You know, like ain't nobody got Dakar money, and it's just such a small festival, so they don't have money to bring me. But I will be able to like virtually connect to all these places
That's
and
wonderful.
have kind of Pan-African conversations, which is exciting.
Well, let's talk about getting you to Dakar. Let's not take that off the list. So
It's on the list. It's on the list somewhere. I was just
it's
like,
on the list.
that's a big dream.
It is. It is. And this is about making other people's dreams come true. So again, really, really leaning into what we can do for ourselves. It's been a while since I've seen this, and I think that when I put this together, it was really about stepping into the authority that you all have. You all have unique stories. You cannot separate yourself from the mission. A lot of it is born out of your lived experience and really cultivating what that story is and why you are endeavoring to do what you're doing today. What powers your commitment? That is a part of what makes you a appealing investment for a funder. And I heard the statement, and I hear it often. It's hard for me to ask for money. And there are a lot of reasons why it may be hard. It may be hard because there is this mentality of a handout. It's not a handout. I had said earlier that our government, our society fails human beings, and we have created a untenable structure of a 1% that, or heck now maybe 5%, that really benefits from the structure that has been created. The system is not broke, it's working perfectly for that top 1%. And we as citizens with hearts who can no longer deny what is going on are being activated to step in and address those needs and save lives. So put that power into your story, into your message. This is why I'm here, and this is why I'm the best person here to do this work. Whether or not you have findings or results, you can use data to definitely support the need. There is the Bay Area Equity Atlas. We have the benefit of, unfortunately, during the last presidency, a census. We do have some information that can drill down to specific geographic areas, as well as health, as well as financial, as well as all of those data points, because you need to be able to speak that language as well. It's important to be able to provide the quantitative proof, substantiate the ask with the qualitative need. That's why on my resume you'll see as many numbers as you do words, because I think it's important to show that you're addressing a specific challenge. And so, however you are, wherever you are in your journey, how you've made an impact, how you endeavor to make an impact is very important. It's kind of like a formula. This is who I am. This is the opportunity. This is how XYZ, my organization, can deliver, has going to deliver services, and this is going to be the result. So really, it's just an equation, and to be able to set that up for your prospective funders, supporters, and also just to make it easy for you to be able to share this information, being really clear about it. I think I jumped to the personal, really placing yourself as the activator, right? And the thought leader, and the individual who should be in front of them to ask for their consideration of investment. Again, going back to that, the fear of asking. There is asking for a donation, which creates a power dynamic where your potential funder is here and you're here, We need to make it like this. This is about a partnership. This is about you investing. This is about you as a partner in this work, as a donor, to also leverage your network to introduce me to people, XYZ, our organization, to people that you know that would be interested in joining you in this investment. It's a completely different dynamic, and it takes time. It takes time to get comfortable with that. But as passionate as you are about addressing these needs, you should be equally passionate about saying, this is an exciting opportunity for you to really step into leveling up humankind. So, and we know it's philanthropy is from the heart. So just kind of bringing all of those elements together. And then the call to action, right? You want to give them a timeline. You want to say now. You want to say XYZ then. You want to give them opportunities. And I like this idea of these little campaigns to make it really simple for them to give. Really, really simple opportunities for them to give. Let's go to the next slide. And as we're trying to speed up, these are resources that I touched upon earlier. If you haven't already, I know some of you are in the process of getting your 501c3. Some of you, are looking at the paperwork. Some of you are brainstorming on names. Wherever you are, these are some steps that I would recommend. Giving Gap is an incredible database that is searchable, that is all of you qualify to be listed on the Giving Gap. It's opportunities to invest in organizations led by people of color, which is fantastic, and it endeavors to match opportunities, right, with donors. GuideStar, a lot of people know what GuideStar is. I think that they've renamed themselves, they keep on rebranding themselves. But basically, it is a charity navigator that's used by prospectors like foundations, individual high net worth individuals that kind of just want to do a little bit of background check on you. So as you progress as you become a little bit older, and I say that in a great way for your organization, you're going to be able to put in copies of your audit report. You're going to be able to put in your earnings and how you've distributed funds. You can really, for lack of a better word, just like pimp it out and make it really another place for you to be able to tell your story, your mission statement, what kind of investments that you're looking for and things like that. I think also GuideStar, once you register, it also gives you discounts as a nonprofit, where you can get other sources like digital resources and things like that. And definitely last but not least, the Directory of Black-led Organizations. And I think I need to add one more, kp.org. And this is led by the East Bay Community Foundation, this last directory. And then last but not least, the KP Foundation, Kaiser Permanente Foundation. One of my colleagues came across a community resource directory. I'm finding out how to put YCD on it. Once I find out, I'll share that information with all of you. Again, as much as we can highlight and be involved in these lists and these directories, I think it's important. It's very important. In terms of data resources, check out Bay Area Equity Atlas and Data SF. We also have the census data, which you can Google and find pretty easily. But I think the Bay Area Equity Atlas that was born out of partnership with the San Francisco Foundation, and I've been an advisory member, has really honed in on addressing certain gaps. So homelessness is a big one. The equity, the financial equity or inequity issues that we have in San Francisco and other key markers. So I would encourage you to register and just like explore, just look at health, data, look at all of the things, and some of the gaps that we have in terms of food equity and things like that, transportation equity. And then last but not least, philanthropy directories. I know that you want resources how to research, various organizations by their giving focus. And so I have put in private foundations, corporate foundations, public and community. And so I'm hoping that you can just dive in and start doing some research as to entities that are aligned with your mission and how you are approaching it. And there are also partner CBOs that I would love to connect you with, that I know of just off the top of my head. So I would encourage you, I'm going to update my Calendly link and ask that you put together maybe 30-minute or take aside 30 minutes so that I can give you some information and you can run with it. We are at 11:37, so we have just a few more minutes. This was very broad, fast brushstrokes about what fundraising is and how to connect. A lot of the worksheets force you to sit down and go through and list individuals that are in the people that you get down with in terms of the work that you're doing and how you want to serve, and then the people that can be a resource to you. Add my name to that list, add Jermaine's name to that list. We are individuals that can connect you. We are trying to flesh out the next few modules, and I would encourage you to reach out to those individuals, whoever they are, to thank them for their time, thank them for the information that they shared, and also invite them to learn a little bit more about what you do. Every new person that is not within the community necessarily that you serve, that would categorize as a potential customer, is a potential partner in this work. And then once those individuals go through your services, they can be definitely an incredible ambassador or soldier for you. So it's a lot. And I wanted to have enough time to go through one of the handouts. All of you have 3 things in your inbox from me: this deck, the video, so you can look at it in maybe slower motion. It's a lot, I know. And then the last piece are handouts that will help you with your mission statement, that will help you identify potential grant sources, resources, as well as building up, your network, your community that can help advance, the fundraising initiatives that you have and goals that you have. Goal setting is important. So I'm opening up to questions. If I didn't answer a specific question, you say, "Hey, Lila, again, like I said," and you didn't answer it, please. Right now is a good time to do so. We have a couple more minutes, and I just want to make sure that at least if this is an initial conversation, we can continue it soon.
I just want to say this presentation was, phenomenal. It is a lot to unpack, but I feel like I learned a lot, especially about a topic that I wasn't so hands-on about, I feel like. And so I want to thank you, because at first it looked like, oh, Lord, it's a lot, but it was easy to digest. And I feel like when I go home and marinate on it, I'll be able to, take in more with understanding how you presented it. And so I thank you and I appreciate it. And I'm like feeling at the start of this program, I didn't feel like, I'm like, it's just another program. It's just another, training. I didn't feel like I would leave here ready. And with, the remaining courses, remaining streamlines ahead, I'm like, I finally feel like I'm getting ready. And so, and take those risks and challenges and, even uh, not being scared to fail because, that's how you learn and that's how you grow. But yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It has been really phenomenal for me.
Thank you, Candace. I truly appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me some time and entree into your professional endeavor. I am here to support, and I cannot wait to connect with you after this course. Anyone else like to share any outstanding questions?
I just want to echo what Candace said. And I also want to say, Candace, thank you for that last comment. Not being afraid to fail, because it's in the failures that we, learn and grow. So sometimes that is just a great barrier, the fear of failure. This has been a really good presentation. It's been a lot, extremely a lot. I'm definitely interested in touching bases with you and meeting with you offline. My apologies for yesterday.
Not a problem.
But I'm definitely interested in mentorship, guidance, direction, unpacking the PowerPoint. Yeah, it's a lot to take away, and so I'm definitely interested in wondering, when can we talk offline? And I know that's not a question to be answered right now, but just making a statement. So thank you very much for coming on in the presentation.
My pleasure. And to answer, Dana, I'd like to do this sooner rather than later. I will be sending out before the end of the week times for next week to
Awesome.
to connect. So absolutely, I think
And
striking while the iron is hot is good.
And I'll have all my questions for you ready.
Great. Great. Wonderful.
Thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I'm not sure when we end, but this will be really quick. So I think for a lot of people, like jumping into fundraising for the first time. So with the micro cinema, I'm putting together like maybe a 1-pager, like a 2-page kind of just like understanding of who I am as a nonprofit and what areas, that most foundations fund, like, arts and culture, community culture, cultural projects, blah, blah, blah. And then understanding like what those buckets of fundraising are for my organization, and not necessarily like some of them might be cold emails or something like that.
Right.
But some of them also might just be like people who I'm in conversation with, and developing these relationships, something that they can hold on to, look at, and take to whoever else they need to get approval for them to give me some money. So I'm curious, like, what do you think is important in that kind of like 1-page, 2-page presentation? Like, what is a funder looking for from me as a baby infant, just came out of the womb organization, to feel more comfortable giving, even if it's $5,000, right? Like,
Right.
What are they looking for in that kind of like sense, besides a great conversation with me and loving the project? But what can I do to support that with like a 1-pager or something like that?
I'm happy to provide you a copy of my 1-pager.
Ooh,
And
yes.
give you time to take a look at it. Then we can connect and tailor it to your needs. Why don't we go ahead and make some time to do that over the next week?
Awesome.
I know you're running, but I think having that as a reference point. Maybe.
Awesome. And then did you say that you were doing a calendar or something like that? Because I emailed you back, but I don't think I saw like a confirmation or anything. And sorry if I missed it.
No, that's all right. I don't think we were able to connect because you emailed me back, and this week is admittedly.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me. That's all.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
But there's going to be a link that you'll want to click on, and it will take you to a calendar where you
Okay.
can.
And we'll get that in like the follow-up email. know.
Yes, and I will make it
That's
big
fine.
and bold and bright
Great.
so that you'll see it, okay?
Love it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And I don't know if Miss Porter is still on with us. I know that no, she was in transit, and bless her heart. I can only imagine how exciting and as well chaotic getting to Great America is. That brings back some childhood memories. But I just want to thank all of you for your thoughts and for your shares. And this is not the end. If you want to get a little bit more granular, if you have a grant opportunity that you are looking at, or are if there's a potential funder that you are going to be speaking with, again, I think this is just the start of our partnership, and however I may serve you in order to continue. I think you're already leveled up to continuing your journey. I would be honored to do so. So thank you. We'll be in contact soon. Everyone have a blessed day.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.